You're watching Senior Notebook on WENY.
Good morning. I'm Kim Salisbury and welcome to the Senior Notebook television program. Thank you for joining me this morning. My guest this morning is Kristen Card. Kristen is with the county's Fire and Emergency Management Department. Welcome, Kristen.
Good morning.
It's great to have you with me.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Great. So the reason why I invited Kristen on the show is we're really going to talk about a really important topic, particularly during the winter months, and that is emergency preparation. Obviously, we want to make sure our older adults and those with medical conditions remain safe, but really this is good information for everybody to have. Every family, every person that lives not only in our county, but anywhere.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, this is universal information.
Right. So this is really good information, and we're going to touch upon many things. And I do want people to know that if they want more information, we'll have a number at the end of the show that they can reach out to me. And if I can't answer that, we'll put them in touch with Kristen. So we're going to let it go. We'll get going. Okay. So I guess the best thing is we want people to be prepared to shelter in place.
Yes.
In your own home is usually the most safe place to be during any type of emergency, if you can remain in your home.
Yes, if it's safe to do so.
Right. But there's things that people need to do to prepare ahead of time.
Absolutely. Yes, you should be prepared for at least 3 to 5 days on your own. So that means having enough water. So if you live in the country and you've got a pump and you're without electricity, that means you're not going to have any water. So make sure that you have at least 1 gallon of water per person per day, and that goes for cooking and for sanitation. An emergency kit, and this is all stuff that you can make sure that you have ahead of time and think about ahead of time. First aid and medicines, especially if you have prescriptions. You want to make sure that you have a 3 to 5 day supply, so don't let them get down to the last pill before you refill them. Always battery operated lights, flashlights, lanterns, things like that, but always battery operated. Candles, anything with a flame is a fire hazard, and we don't want a fire during an emergency. Right. Your non-perishable foods that you can eat without having to cook.
Oh,
the non-electric can opener.
That's huge.
A lot of people don't have that anymore. Right. Bars, trail mix, quick energy stuff, snacky stuff like that. Puzzle books, cards and things, especially if you have kids, kids games, books for them to keep them occupied. Right. And it keeps everybody's emotional level on an even keel. Right. Yes. Right. So that, especially with kids, so they're not worrying about the emergency, that they're occupied doing something a little bit more fun.
That's really good tips. Now, obviously, I work at the Department of Aging, and we're always concerned about older persons. We're concerned with people with underlying health issues and how to keep them safe, and particularly during the winter months. And I've learned through my years at the Department of Aging that older people and people with underlying health conditions are really at risk for hypothermia when it's cold. And people always think that you have to be outside in order to get hypothermia. But we're really concerned about, particularly when people are conscientious about lowering their thermostat because they're concerned about heating costs, that they are at risk for hypothermia. Do you have any suggestions for people so they don't become at risk for that?
Yes. First, if you have been outside or if you are going outside, make sure that you're dressing in layers. Make sure that your bottom layer is a wicking layer, so it's wicking the sweat, perspiration away from you. So if you're out shoveling, things like that. When you come back inside, yes, if you don't have any heat or if you've lowered your heat and you stay in those wet clothes, hypothermia can begin at temperatures that are 50 degrees, even if you have wet clothing. And then just some precautionary things. If you're going to use a space heater, if it's an electric space heater, remember that it's not going to work without electricity. Kerosene, I personally get very nervous about people using kerosene because, again, the flame and the fire hazard. But using things like your barbecue grill or your gas oven to try and as a heat source, All of those things create carbon monoxide, and we know about carbon monoxide poisoning. Colorless, odorless gas replaces the oxygen in your bloodstream.
So that's probably a really good thing for our viewers to know, that they need a good operating smoke detector and a carbon monoxide detector.
Yes, blankets, hat and gloves, sleeping bag, those types of things to help you keep warm.
Good. And one of the things we want the people to know, if they are concerned about their utility costs and they're thinking about lowering that thermostat to save energy monies, there is a program out there called the HEAP program, the Home Energy Assistance Program, and they can certainly call our office at 737-5520 to find out about those benefits. There's also several grant programs out there that can help people with furnace repair, furnace replacement programs. So I don't want people to think they got to lower that thermostat too low and then get at risk for hypothermia or using alternative heat sources and maybe have a much, much bigger problem on their hands. And we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Thank you. Good morning and welcome back to the Senior Notebook television program. Today my guest is Kristen Card. Kristen is with the Chemung County Fire and Emergency Department, and we have been talking about emergency planning, particularly during the winter months.
Yes.
And Kristen, you have a pretty cool, I don't want to call it a toy, but it's a really cool piece of equipment that I think I want to get one for my house. So why don't we tell the viewers about it?
This was my favorite Christmas present. This is, it's a multi-function emergency resource. So it has a weather radio band, it has regular AM and FM stations, so you can get emergency information that way. It has a flashlight. It has, it can be solar powered. On the back of the solar panel has another lamp on it. It is battery powered. It does have a port where you can plug it in, I believe, but it also has a crank. So if your battery runs out, you can crank this, and it'll a few cranks will keep you in power for about an hour. It has a port here for charging your cell phone and so forth. And if you take this when you're hiking, when you're outdoors, or even in your car, it has an SOS feature.
Ooh, that's cool.
So it will draw attention to you. It has a red flashing light. So, and you were talking about driving and being prepared when you're driving.
Yes.
So that would be a great thing if you heard traffic going by. You could use that SOS, and it would have a red flashing light in the sound, so that people would
That's really
be
cool.
alerted to your location.
Is this available through regular retail stores?
This one was purchased online, I believe. It was a gift, like I said. So you can find them online. You can probably find them at any place that sells electronics. Usually has something like this or similar to this. Okay. You can get a simple weather radio for your home if you want to. That will go off whenever there's warnings, and there's a weekly test, so that you know that the radio is working.
So, that's a great idea, particularly when, we have a lot of people in our lives that they're really hard to buy for. But this is such a cool gift, and it serves so many functions. That's really neat. Kristen, I guess I'm curious, how do you get the information when there is a winter storm approaching, or we're expecting a flood, or a lot of rains, or an ice storm? How do you get your information? And then again, how does the general public get that information?
I have some features for emergency management with the National Weather Service, some warning features and so forth. And if there is something that looks like it's going to be serious, the National Weather Service does contact our office, and we have informational webinars and so forth, so that they update us. And then we try and put that out on our Facebook page. We try and get it to the media. And of course, all local media, the meteorologists always carry all of the watches and the warnings and talk about the upcoming weather. So keeping up to date on that, especially if you are planning on going someplace, planning on going out, checking the weather before you go, knowing what it's going to be like, and especially if you're going to be out for several hours or you're traveling a farther distance, make sure you check that farther out as well, so that you know what the weather is going to be at your destination and what you can encounter along the way. Safety in your car, having water, some non-perishable foods, again, the trail mix, bars, things like that, some water, an emergency blanket. Always tell my kids they love to go out with no coat, no, in their Birkenstocks. Make sure that you have good sturdy shoes, hat and gloves, warm coat and so forth in case you do have to get out and walk any place. And if you do get stranded in your car, you can start your car, warm it up, get the heat going, but make sure that the tailpipe is free of any snow or any debris or anything like that. And, be mindful of the carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right.
And so make sure that your window is rolled down a little bit while you have your car going. Yeah,
that's really important. Now, I know you have your cell phone there, and we want to tell our viewers about a really special app that Chemung County has.
Yes, we do have a Chemung County Emergency Management app. So if you go to, whether you're on your tablet or on your smartphone, go to your app store and just search Chemung County Emergency Management, and it should come right up at the very top. It's an emergency management app, and there is actually an electronic emergency plan, a checklist for your emergency kit, a way to report damage around your, if you see storm damage around your home, things like that. So it's a very handy app.
Great.
We also have these that are in your office,
Right.
so people can stop by the Office of the Aging and pick up one of these. Has all kinds of weather information and an outline for your emergency plan at home.
Great. Kristen, this is great information. We could just go on and on. There's so much to cover when it comes to emergency management, and we'll have all the information available at the bottom of your screen. Thanks for joining me this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kim.